All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's all around us, but completely invisible, the forces that power our entire world. And we're going to look at the argument that we should be paying way closer attention to them. This is our breakdown of Empowered by R. Blank, your guide to understanding EMF.
So, let's start with a really simple question. Right now, just look around. Look at your phone, your laptop, maybe your smart speaker. What do you think fills that invisible space between you and all those devices?
Well, according to the book, that space is filled with something called electromagnetic fields, or EMF for short. You can think of it as this invisible form of energy. It's also called electromagnetic radiation, and it's basically the fundamental force that makes almost every single piece of modern tech work.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. The book basically splits EMF into two totally different worlds. On one side, you've got the natural stuff, like sunlight and the Earth's magnetic field. This is the stuff that life on Earth literally evolved with for millions of years. But on the other side, you've got this new, super intense, human-made EMF. We're talking power lines, Wi-Fi, cell phones, and the book's big argument is that our biology just isn't built to handle this new kind of exposure. And this is where the whole conversation gets, well, complicated. The book's preface, which was actually written by the author's late father, a scientist named Dr. Martin Blank, frames this whole thing as a pretty contentious debate. He tells this story about presenting his data, only to have a well-known professor tell him it was impossible. And guess what? He later found out that that professor and another critic were both paid consultants for the power industry. So right from the get-go, the book suggests that industry influence might be a big reason why the science seems so confusing to the rest of us.
So how does the book actually make its case that these fields are affecting our biology? Well, it starts with a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending biological paradox. And here it is. This is really the core of the book's argument, all boiled down to one paradox. See, on one hand, modern medicine actively uses EMF as a healing tool. We're talking about devices that heal bone fractures, reduce pain, and even slow cancer growth. So the book's logic is pretty simple. If this energy is powerful enough to heal the body, it's got to have the power to affect it in other ways too, right? And it's those other effects the book links to our daily exposure, things like oxidative stress and even DNA damage. And that brings us right to the book's central argument, which is a direct challenge to our current safety standards. The claim is pretty bold, that so-called non-ionizing EMF, the kind from your Wi-Fi and your phone, is not harmless. In fact, the book argues it causes significant damage at levels far, far below what governments currently consider safe. The book also raises some pretty specific concerns for kids, and the reason is simple biology. They have thinner skulls and their tissues are still developing. Because of that, their brains can absorb anywhere from 2 to 10 times more microwave radiation than an adult's brain. That's a pretty sobering thought from the book, especially when you see toddlers walking around with phones and tablets. Okay, so after laying out all the potential risks, the book makes a really important pivot. It's not about fear, it's about what the title says, empowerment. So let's talk about your first line of defense, the simple, totally free strategies it suggests to reduce your exposure. So the author boils everything down to two super simple core rules. That's it. Number 1, minimize your usage. Just be more mindful, turn things off, unplug what you don't need. And number 2, maximize your distance. Physics is your best friend here. The book explains that just a few inches of space between you and a device can make a massive difference in your exposure. And from those two rules, we get these simple, everyday habits the book recommends. Stuff like using speakerphone or a wired headset instead of putting the phone right up to your head. Texting more than calling. A big one, keeping phones out of your pockets and bras. Turning off your Wi-Fi router at night while you sleep. And trying to avoid using your phone in places with a bad signal, like in a car or an elevator, because that's when it has to blast out the most power. But if you had to boil down the entire book, all the science, all the advice, into one single sentence, this would be it. The single most impactful change you can make, according to Empowered, is just this. Stop carrying your phone on your body.
So, as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to get the book's final message right. This isn't about telling you to ditch all your technology and go live in a cave. Not at all. It's about taking back control through awareness and making conscious choices.
And this is captured perfectly in a quote from the book's own Too Long Didn't Read section. It says, "This isn't about panic, it's about power." See? The goal isn't to scare you. The goal is to give you the knowledge you need to make smarter choices and take control of your own environment. Which really just leaves us with this one final thought, a question that the book is basically asking on every single page. This is your environment, filled with all these invisible forces we've been talking about. The real question is, are you empowered to change it?